Si Totoy talaga. Until now, head over heels pa rin kay Nena. Hoy, Tony! Bebe ka ba? Ano naman kadramahan yan?
Hindi ko alam kung saan ako magsisimula.
Just call me Francesca. Okay?
Meron kasi akong gustong sabihin.
Kalimutan na natin yun. Matagal na yun. Please.
Kalimutan?
That was New York way. Kalimutan na natin yun. Move on. Dapat, enjoy life. Be energetic. Oh my gosh, Tony.
What do you mean, Kikay?
Tony, bata pa tayo nun.
Kailan?
Nung nag-engage tayo.
Last year lang yun ah.
Para sa akin, isang dekada na nun. Ang tagal-tagal na nun, Tony. Di pa natin alam kung anong ginagawa natin. So please, kalimutan na natin yun. Pero alam mo, may kukwento pa pala ako sa'yo.
Hey, Kikay, ayoko pag-usapan ng New York, okay? Gusto ko pag-usapan natin ay tayo. Kung ano pa ang status natin. Tayo pa ba?
Tony, please, ayoko na. Ayoko na pag-usapan yun. Ang dami ko pang aasikasuhin.
Ano ba, Kikay? Tayo pa ba? Yes or no?
Tony, mahirap din na sabihin no, Tony. Yung babaeng nakilala mo, si Kika yun. Ang babaeng kausap mo ngayon, iba na, si Francesca na to. Pero imaginein mo, a New Yorker, marrying a Tondo boy. Oh my God, nakakatawa. So my gosh, Tony, di mo ba naisip yun?
Wait lang ha, dahan-dahan lang, Kikay.
Sorry kung na-hurt ka. Sorry, okay? Hindi ko talaga ma-imagine na tayong dalawa.
Hindi ako uupo dito at iinsultuhin lang ng ganun.
Chill! Breathe in, breathe out. People in New York,
Ano bang gusto mo?
don't lose temper.
Maging magkaibigan lang tayo? Hanggang doon lang?
Yes, Tony. Friends na lang tayo. Don't worry. Madami pang babae dyan. Mali mo, nasa tabi-tabi mo lang.
Hindi ka lang babae, sus.
Hindi ka nanununtok ng babae.
Ano to? Tony?
Oh, Nina. Wala to. Nag-uusap lang kami. Di ba, Tony?
Ano ba naman yung pinag-aawayan nyo?
Di kami nag-aaway, Chong. Ano ba? We just decided we'll be a good as friends.
Ito ba ito?
Oo.
Oh, good. Pwede natin sabihin sa kanila.
Sabihin ng alin?
Tony and I are engaged.
Engage?
Oo. Isang buwan na kaming patagong engaged. In other words, Tony is my fiancé.
A month? Tony? Ano to? Ano pagsasabihin ni Nina?
Gusto kong sabihin sa'yo, Kikay, pero hindi mo ako pinagbigyan.
You aso?
Hoy, Kikay. Dahan-dahan ka sa pananalita mo, ha? Fiancé ko yan. Akin siya. Akin siya.
Walang sayo, Nina. Akin pa rin si Tony. Ako pa rin yung legal na fiancé.
Hindi na nga kayo, di ba?
Kapal din ang mukha mo, Nina. Yan.
Oh, remember, Kikay, chill lang, di ba? Yung way ng mga New Yorker.
I've never felt so humiliated. All my life, Tony. I've never felt so embarrassed in all my life. You sick fuck! Pinahiya mo ako, Tony! At ikaw ang babae
Mahiya ka naman.
Mahiya ka.
You're just
Kapal ang
being
mukha
rich
mo.
in a manger.
Totoy,
Ano ka
Totoy.
pinagdala dyan, girl?
Naku, lumabas din ang pagkatundo.
Good evening, Cebu City citizens. We are live here in Cebu City's Hollywood runway to witness the different views and opinions of 15 Hollywood guests who had watched the performance video of 4 students in University of Cebu, Manila. Our first guest is the creative director of the video film, Miss MJ. So here is the question for you from our viewers. Based on the video that you have watched, what is the focus of the performance-based assessment of the students?
For the viewers to know performance-based assessment, it focuses in two different aspects according to Greenland. First is the process. You use process when there is no product. The main focus of the teacher here is to observe the correct procedures and steps that the students did that yield to their success. And I haven't seen that in the video performance. So let's proceed to the second focus, which is the product. According to Grunland, you use the product when different procedures results in an equally good product. Procedures is not available for observation. The procedure have been mastered already and products have qualities that can be identified and judged. So basically, the performance of the students is already the product because we haven't seen that how they come up with their performance, right? If I were to assume, I think the process there would be first, brainstorming of the story. Second, identifying each character of the story. Third, the students decided who will going to act. Fourth, memorizing the lines of each character in the story. And lastly, stage test before the final act. All the process that I have mentioned was not seen in the video because the video is purely the product. The students already memorized the things that need to be done in the actual performance. Therefore, the main focus of the video is the product.
Thank you so much, Miss MJ, for that luculent review. For our next Hollywood guest, her name is Miss Mary Rose Gackett. Good evening, Miss. So here is the question for you from our viewers. There are 4 types of accomplishment of the learners using performance-based assessment. First is the product. Second is the complex cognitive processes. Third is the observable performance. Fourth is the habits of mind and social skills. So can you tell us, Miss Gackett, which type of these accomplishment that was achieved by the students based on their performance?
Thank you and good evening again to our viewers. So based on the video performance that I have watched, the first accomplishment that the students achieve is the product, since what we had seen is the final performance of the student, as what Miss MJ said. Second is the complex cognitive processes. I think this achievement was not shown in the video because it states cognitive processes, but we never saw the process, so we cannot directly tell if the students accomplish this. Complex cognitive processes involves higher order thinking skills. In Bloom's of taxonomy level, this processes falls down into level 4 to 6. In short, we should see how the students examine their performance in order to achieve this type of accomplishment. Karen?
The third accomplishment is the observable performance. They clearly achieve this type of accomplishment because, as what I have seen in their video performance, the student provide physical movement. Example, the one who played main character, Kikay. If you remember her, she did a small gesture like putting some makeup on her face and touching her hair. Clearly, if I was a deaf viewer, but I observed the movement of the character, I could probably identify that her character is being mean because of the movement and gesture she did. Just like in a classroom, you could tell if that certain student doing the right thing or not because of his or her movement. Lastly, the habit of mind and social skill. This one also we cannot tell if the learners achieve this type of accomplishment because we haven't seen in this video. But based on the example of the habits of mind and social skill, it involves mental and behavioral habits such as persistence and cooperation during group work. Since the performance video ended well, I think there is a great cooperation between the members and group. If there is no cooperation during group work, I don't think they could deliver a good quality of performance.
So thank you so much, Ms. Mary Rose Gackett and Ms. Karen Arkayan, for giving us honest review towards the performance-based assessment of the student. So now let us proceed to the advantages of PBA. So there are 11 advantages of PBA. Let's start with the first one, which is assessing complex learning outcomes. Let's try to hear the review of our next Hollywood guest, Miss Sophia. So Miss Sophia, can you tell us if the video assesses complex learning outcome?
Good evening, Elle. It's very important to remember that once you administered a performance-based assessment, you should assess complex learning outcomes. Why PBA enhances the students' higher order thinking skills. So just like Ms. Gackett said in the Bloom's of taxonomy level, complex learning outcome achieved when the learning outcome is in level 4 to 6. But in the video performance, what I have seen is how the students apply what they have learned in the story through dramatization. So technically, the outcome of the performance of the students is in the level 3, the application. It never enhances the students' higher order thinking skills, and the teacher should always consider this level because that's what makes performance-based assessment different from the other type of assessment.
Thank you so much, Miss Sophia, for your honest review. Next time, the teacher should always plan well before administering his or her performance-based assessment. Okay, so now another advantages of the performance-based assessment is assesses the process as well as the product. Let us hear the view from Miss Karen Bulibuli. Good evening, Miss Karen. So, do you think the video assesses the process as well as the product?
Good evening. For the viewers to know, PBA doesn't just assess process or product. It should assess both because you cannot produce a product without a process and you cannot process without a product. So it needs to be balanced. So that's what makes the PBA a high quality assessment because it never focuses on one thing. But in the video, I could tell that the PBA of students does not assess the process, but we cannot directly tell that the student is not good. Maybe the teacher provide only the final performance of the students and haven't show the whole process of the PBA of the students.
That was another thing to remember, teachers. The performance should be assesses both process and product. Thank you so much, Miss Karen Bulibuli. So for the next advantages, it communicates instructional goals related to real-world context. This will be answered by one of the actors in the video, Mr. A. So Mr. A, before you perform your role play, did your teachers and you as her students communicate the instructional goals related to the real-world context?
Good evening, everyone, especially to our viewers. PBA is an authentic assessment. Whatever the instructional goal or the outcome of the teacher, it should be related to our real world. It should help the student to understand the real world context. As for me, since I am one of the students actor in the video, before we perform, our teacher told us that we need to choose a scene in the story that we have experienced in the real life. When you watch our video, you could directly tell that it's a typical love story between man and a woman, but it's not. It's more than that. The story is about friendship and forgiveness. You see, in the reality, it is really hard to forgive when you get to the point where your friendship ends with betrayal. That's why in the video, you can see the main character Kikai was really mad at her friends because she herself experienced betrayal. And yes, it took a lot of time to forgive. That's the reality. That's our performance is all about. Our teacher let us perform the story because she knew that we can learn from the story because we already experienced it. And that's what makes PBA authentic.
So that was the video performance all about. We didn't know that it was quite emotional. Thank you so much, Al, for sharing your experience as one of the students who performed in the video. So let's proceed to the next question. Let us know if the performance video that we have watched assess progress as well as performance. So Miss Corinne will share her thought as a teacher who administered the performance-based assessment to her student.
Good evening, La Perla. So, the fourth advantages of performance-based assessment is assesses progress as well as performance. So, it assesses if the process has a progress and the product have a good performance. Make sure when you administered your PBA, monitor the progress and performance of your students and don't let your students stick on what is used to. When I administer the PBA to my students, I make sure that I could see the progress of their performance. You never saw this in the video, but the process of their performance undergo a lot of failure. It took them a lot of time to polish their performance because students need to adjust to their character in the story, but I told them to give me a great performance since I could see the potential in them. And when I watched the final performance, I could tell that the students progress a lot and they produce a good quality performance. So how could I tell? So some of them cannot memorize the script and there is no emotion in delivering their lines, but look at their performance in final. It was totally different, although it's not that perfect, but the students deliver their character well.
Thank you so much, Miss Corinne, for sharing your thoughts and your experience to us. So now let us proceed to the fifth advantage of PBA, which is involves the students in the assessment process. Let's hear it from Miss April, the students who play the main character of the story. Good evening, Miss April. As students, are you involved in the process of your performance-based assessment?
Good evening, Elle. Yes, I am. I mean, we all did. After we performed, our teacher told us to watch our video performance and assess the other group members based on the criteria that she provided.
Besides that, the process of assessments evolves around the students because assessment can't be done without the students, so we are involved in our performance-based assessment. Thank you so much, Miss April. We do understand your side and thank you for sharing your experience to us. Again, it is also important to involve the students in the assessment process. Okay, now we are down to our 6 advantages of PBA, which is recognizes that students can express.
Our sixth PBA advantage, which is recognizes that students can express. I haven't seen this also in the video, and this advantage is a continuation to what Miss April said. If the students is involved in a process of performance assessment, the teacher should recognize that students can express. This can be seen after the performance of the students.
Example, based on Miss April's statement, after the video performance, the teacher let her students assess each member. After assessing, they recognize their reaction, their thoughts about their video performance. So that is the good thing about PBA. It's not just the teacher who are going to assess the performance, but also his or her students as well. Okay, let's proceed to the 7 advantages, which is specific, direct, and understandable information are available to the parents of the students. Let's hear the point of view of Miss Relime.
Good evening, Elle. Based on the performance of the students, I think the specific, direct, and understandable information that we could provide to the parents of the students is to tell them that their sons and daughters have a great acting skills. They have the potential of being an actor or an actress. Another way of providing a direct and specific information for the parents is to let them attend the performance of their sons or daughters. In that way, the parents could assess also how their child performed. PBA provide that to the parents because the parents have the right to know the learning growth of their children.
Thank you for your realistic views, Rilami. So I received these questions from our viewers. Does PBA evaluate the whole students? Well, for me, as one of the guest speaker tonight, PBA evaluates the whole students. In the PBA, there are different ways to involve the students in performance such as group tasks, individual, or partner. So no matter what kind of performance task that you administered, it always evaluates the whole students. Because as a teacher, you're not assessing the students who are good and eliminate those who are not. No matter what the performance of your students provide, evaluate them properly based on their performance. And so, if you are going to evaluate the students who perform in the video that I watch, I will not just evaluate those who I've seen in the video, but also the students behind the performance video, such as the video editor, the costume designer, and so on. So, that's what PBA should be.
Thank you so much, Giselle. As for me, I am going to share to our viewers the 9 advantages of PBE, which is enhances the professional skills of the teachers. So does the teacher enhances the professional skills of the teacher? PBE, or performance-based assessment, offers a deeper insight into the learning needs of students. Being a professional teacher, you need to help your student think outside the box. Don't just feed them, but also let them explore on their own by guiding them and be with them when they need something. Just like in the video, I think the video performance of the students will not be successful without the help of their teacher. If the teacher didn't tell them how to act and provide them a confident in stage, do you think the performance of the students will yield into good quality? Although it took a lot of time to construct PBE, but it will measure how professional you are as a teacher.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mary Ann, for sharing your views and opinions towards the performance of the students. For the 10th advantages, PBA can establish a framework for observing the students. So we come up with this framework based on what we had observed in the students' performance video. So in planning phase, we will observe how the students come up with their performance, just like Ms. MG said, the process of the video performance of the students we had watched. So it includes brainstorming, identifying the characters of the story, assigning of the rules in the play, memorizing the script or the line, then lastly will be the stage blocking. For the implementation phase, what we had observed here is the final performance of the students, just like what we had watched in the video. And for the evaluation phase is what we are observing here is the teachers and the students assesses the performance video. So that's the good thing about PBA. You can establish a framework on what you want to observe towards the performance of your students.
For the 11th advantages, the last one, PBA can contribute to a meaningful curriculum planning and design of educational invention. How? PBA provides results that demonstrates an improved targeted learning outcome, and this learning outcome will make a meaningful curriculum planning and design educational inventions. The more challenging and unique your learning outcome, the meaningful your curriculum planning. That's why, if learning outcome is not achievable or too shallow to evaluate, just like in the video, it's really hard to tell if the performance of the students includes complex learning outcome because we haven't seen that in a video. If the targeted learning outcome was not achieved, then you must revise your PBA.
Thank you so much to our guest speaker. Now we deeply understand what is performance-based assessment all about and the connection of the video performance of the students towards the performance-based assessment. But wait, there's more. Performance-based assessment also has a limitation. So what are these limitations? These will be reviewed by Ms. Beiji and Hazel.
Good evening, La Perla. So there are three limitations of performance-based assessment. First is constructing. It took a lot of time to construct a performance-based assessment, and when the teacher administered it, it is time-consuming. I could say that because I am one of the students who performed in the video, it took us a lot of time to polish our performance and to plan and process the story and the video. When our teacher administered it, she knew that we will consuming a lot of time for preparation, and that is the negative side of performance-based assessment. Time-consuming when constructing. Second, the score is questionable. I could say that the teacher might be biased in scoring if she only observed those who perform well. So that's why rubrics should be explained and shared with the students before the final performance so that they will be guided. The last limitation will be answered by Miss Hazel.
Thank you, BJ. So the last limitation is that measurement is limited in scope. What do you mean limited in scope? It means that performance focuses only into a certain activity to provide a highly structured performance. Just like in the video, after they perform, they then evaluate their performance as what the students shared. So, nag-focus lang yun ang PBA into a certain activity even though it has a limited scope but the performance is highly structured.